All right. And here we go. So listen, one thing that we do here on Group Chat is we talk a lot of shit. We have a lot of fun.
Yep.
We have a lot of strong opinions. But we also hear from experts.
Yep.
It's just what we do.
Yeah.
Whether it's people in nightlife, like Brian told, doctors, all sorts of different experts. We bring you the experts. One thing that we talk a lot about on this podcast is TikTok. We talk about everything going on with the hype house, everything going on with the youth.
Yeah.
And I like to think we talk about it with sort of a more adult lens. You know, what are these kids really up to?
We're like the outside looking in.
Yeah, but we're also, we're protective. Hey, what's your future? Who's scamming you there? Who's in charge of this house?
Yes.
Why is there all this cheating and sex happening?
Yeah, a lot of sex.
You know? And so today we are joined by an expert who I think can give us a little bit more insight on that.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
We got Christian Delgrosso in the building.
Yep.
Woo! 7 years in social media, which is the equivalent
Old
of
Man
like
River over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's like 7 years social media is like
That's dog years is like 100.
This is
Right?
this is like getting acting advice from Denzel.
Denzel.
Yes.
We have Denzel Washington here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Well, we'll go that far.
we'll go that far.
So, really interesting story. You are from Toronto, Canada.
Right.
Why did you move to LA?
I think at the time it was...
And when? Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's start when and why.
Yeah, I think... So it was, I was 20 years old when I moved here, and I just kind of picked up and left. I didn't even tell my parents that I was moving.
Wow.
I was kind of like visiting back and forth, just like feeling it out, and I ended up deciding I wanted to live here. But I think more so it was, I think just the lack of opportunity in the acting realm in Toronto, and then coming to LA, I kind of got to see that there's a lot more.
It's too bad you weren't a sing rapper. There's a lot of opportunity there for those.
Right.
For those
Right. Just everyone that's coming out of there sing rapping.
Yeah.
It's the only people we know that come out of there. Yeah.
That's good.
That's why I had to leave. That's why I became a sing rapper.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
So you started singing and you're like, nope, I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's it.
So then when you came, was it like, is this right when Vine was popping off, or what was happening in social media land when you came?
Yeah, I had grown to about 2.5 million followers on Vine prior to moving here.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think like it was at the point where I started to become like really financially stable, where I was like, okay, yeah, I could actually, make the move and be fine financially to make the move and do it. So I think that's what was happening.
Like when you say financially stable, because I'm just curious.
Oh God.
In your mind,
He's like, so what exactly?
yeah, because like
about
there's a
For
lot
a
of
20-year-old, what does that mean?
Is that like $5,000 a month? Is that $10,000 a month? What is that like back then?
I
that
think-
made you comfortable moving.
Right. I think at that point I was making around 50 to 60K a month.
Fuck.
So I was just like,
That's
I'm
stable.
That's stable.
Yeah. I mean, that's the difference between America and Canada. American, you get $2,000 a month. You're like, I'm moving to LA and get me
Wait,
that
so you're
work.
telling me 7 years ago, we're 2013, there was that kind of money being made on Vine?
Definitely, yeah. That was like when the Fortune 500 companies started, testing the waters and seeing what, and their budgets were pretty good at the time too. I mean, it's been getting better over the last 7 years, but even back then, their budgets were pretty high for a branded campaign.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Vine back then was mainly comedy, right? Like,
Right, yeah. Initially, it was supposed to be a stop motion app, I believe.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like this very artistic app.
yeah.
And then we just came and fucked it all up.
Just like, I'm going to throw cheese on your face.
Yeah, exactly.
So true.
Yeah.
And I always ask this question because I'm fascinated by it now, is what did your parents think? Like, not only is their kid making $50K a month off of his cell phone, like making funny videos, but now you're leaving to go to LA. I'm guessing you didn't really know anyone except for maybe your Vine friends.
Right. It was a shit show because I basically came out of high school and went right into acting. I was like, I want to be an actor. My parents were like, great. This is awesome.
And I'm guessing your parents are not actors.
They're definitely not,
That's sarcasm, right?
Yeah, 100% sarcasm. And yeah, like they were already kind of like, watching me from the sidelines being like, what the fuck is this kid doing?
Yeah.
But when I started social media, it kind of gave them like a different perspective on it. I think when they started seeing the results, I feel like that's with everything though. The second you start seeing results, all of a sudden everybody's supportive of
Especially money.
Exactly. So yeah,
That's results.
Yeah.
That's what counts. That's the number one result.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, how much money a month?
Yeah.
All right, take care.
Pack your bags.
Go.
We always say we're a genius.
Christmas.
Call us when that's 200K a month.
Yes. And here's the bank account.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wait, so Vine 2013, and then you're obviously OG influencer. Walk us through the last 7 years. What are all the things? Vine transitioned to what, and how were you thinking about it?
Yeah, it's been a shit show, like in good and bad ways. I feel like because I initially set out, the reason why I started Vine was because my friend was like, I was in acting class like 4 days a week. I was really I was trained for about 3 years prior to Vine, and my friend was like, and it was impossible to get representation in Toronto, like impossible. You had to have a pretty substantial resume. And my friend was like, dude, this app Vine just came out. You should just make shit. Like get your face and your name out there. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And it was like that month that I started like really taking off. Like it was like my 10th video went viral and that was it. So it's been kind of crazy trying to like re-navigate what makes me happy and like getting back to the root of everything versus like, all right, now I got this social media baby. Let me just keep funneling content and go all over the place and not be happy, which is like, you know, the honest truth. So it's been like.
So you did Vine and then that kind of fizzled. Did you take your audience then to Instagram or YouTube?
Yeah. So basically that was the worst. I think that was the biggest issue with a lot of people was like not everyone has like that entrepreneurial mindset where they're like, all right, how do I continue to expand and grow? People were just like thought that this platform was end all be all. And then when it went down, the Titanic that it was like so many people went down with Vine. Whereas us, we kind of like throughout the time that we were present on Vine, we were always kind of moving people around and like, oh, I'm doing longer form stuff on YouTube or I'm doing this on Instagram. So like we kind of had that situated prior to.
And do you know, like when we hear like, sorry.
I just want to jump to real quick, like a moment of advice is we're now facing a very similar potential outcome for everyone who's built this following on TikTok.
Right.
Because we're looking down the barrel of that maybe getting canceled.
Right.
And I remember when that happened with Vine, it was like, oh shit, like there was a small group of Viners that were very famous, but that app died and some made the transition and some didn't. Mm-hmm. So like, what would you tell those TikTokers right now that are potentially looking at that thing getting wiped out?
There's so many things. I would say like just transition wisely to the platforms that you actually think you could be prominent on. Like a lot of these kids, they're fine with setting up a phone on a chair or a wall and dancing for 15 seconds. And that's it. It's easy. It's, you know, for them to transition to something like YouTube would require longer form content, some sort of production, editing. Like I had to learn how to do all that. So I would say just kind of figure out where you want to be and like grow into that platform.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
To that point, I actually try to do my own research as an old person.
Yeah.
So I went down a rabbit hole of some YouTube kids and what they're doing. And I was like, look, it's not for me, but there's clearly thought put into it.
Yeah.
There's clearly like a script and a story they wanted to tell.
You're saying YouTube as a platform?
No, the stars of YouTube today.
It's very different.
Yeah, like they actually,
there's production
they're trying to tell a storyline and whatever. And then I went on TikTok and I'm like, they're just staring at the camera.
Oh, it's a huge gap.
It's like the degradation of the youth is like so obvious.
Do you get mad at TikTok? Do you think it's stupid?
We know what that
should
means.
we ban it?
We know what that pause
Don't you think we should ban it?
I have a pin, like, I don't ever want to mention any names because I don't want to put anyone on blast, but I also like looking at it from the sidelines, I'm just trying to understand what their goals are, what makes them happy, what their passions are, if they have like a specific talent that they want to hone in on. For me, it was always acting. So I, went to acting school and was training like very aggressively because that's what I wanted. A lot of these kids, I feel like what they want is fame and money. So it's like, I'm just trying to understand like, how is that for society's mental health to have a platform that's just based on like people just, cranking content out 5 times a day just to try and get famous so that they could be like, I'm famous.
Yeah. Because that's really the goal now, right?
Right.
For like a young person, it's like, I just got to figure out how to get in one of those sex houses in LA. And, yeah, I mean, like if you're like 15, you're like, man, I just need to fluke up into a sex house in LA.
Where I can just cheat on my famous girlfriend.
Cheat on my famous girlfriend.
And I made it.
I mean, I think what's obvious to what you're saying is the longevity of these kids, unless they have a plan, a goal, or trying to acquire a skill,
right?
They're flashing the pans.
I mean, we've seen it happen before. MagCon is very similar to that. MagCon was like the biggest boy group ever to hit social media. They kind of paved the way for these new kids. But if you think about it,
I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, like that was like the biggest dude. That's Shawn Mendes. He was one of the MagCon kids.
Okay.
But if you like look at it, like, are you familiar with Cameron Dallas?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Cameron Dallas, Shawn Mendes, they kind of like were the only ones to really pivot
out of that group.
And like do their thing. But that group was like at the time, I think 15 kids.
Wow.
You know, 15 to 20 kids. I don't know the exact number.
If you really looked at the list now, it's probably, we just don't remember.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true.
And so what's like, so you're out in LA, Vine happens, you obviously start making money, then Instagram happens. I'm assuming you figure out how to take advantage because you have a lot of followers, engagement there. So I would say you're obviously, the fact that you're here 7 years later with this crazy following on every single platform, what have you figured out? And like, I think you alluded to the idea of being happy. So does that mean at some point you're unhappy with living in LA, making a lot of money and getting to do what you love? Like how is it unhappy?
For me personally, it was like social media at the time when I started, it was fun. So it was like a new realm of me to just be able to create stuff. And I still like creating. I think it's just like, you know, distinguishing like what is like creating something that you're happy with versus something you're creating because you have to create it. Over the last 7 years, like I said, it's been kind of difficult to navigate because the more that I got into this social media bubble, the more I became unhappy because I felt like I was getting further and further away from like the reasons why I wanted to come to LA. So I think what was the initial question again? I like lost it and I had it
just how were you it seems kind of on surface level, especially to young people.
Right.
You had the following, you were making money, you were living in LA. Why
are you unhappy?
Yeah.
Well, it's just the purpose, like your purpose of why you're here. Because like if you're chasing fame and the money, I mean, that can only go so far. You're going to get to a point where you're going to be like, all right, I'm famous, all right, I have money. And then bland, like nothing. You have nothing, no substance to anything you're doing. It's kind of just like.
How long did it take for that to hit you?
I think it was like maybe 3 years in. Because I've done like quite a few, I booked a few films. And I just filmed a film with Nicolas Cage prior to COVID. Wow. But it was when I started getting on the bigger sets and doing those movies that I really was like, this is where I'm happy. Like having like zero, like there was nothing, I had no remorse or anything towards me being on set and working as an actor. But when you put me in like the creative process of making a social, like a content for social media, I'm always like hitting these things where I'm like, it set me back.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like for a lot of people that happens. Like the first couple of years have to be a blast. Like you first get your key to the hype house.
Oh yeah. That key to the city.
Cloud 9. You got your poof on the front of your hair. You got your new dangly earring. Yeah. You're like,
your DMs are popping.
What is cracking?
Windmilling everywhere.
Yeah.
What's so funny though is looking at it. I did all that shit.
Yeah.
Like it's funny how it's just it works in cycles. Like these kids are going to like Saddle Ranch and Boa Steakhouse now. It's like I was the first 3 years I was out here, I was out there at Boa Steakhouse every night getting the filet mignon. You know what I mean?
Boa Steakhouse. I'm telling you, bro, that's like a stamp an influencer like made it. Like you get the filet mignon at Boa.
I'll tell you, it is, the difference is that when we were growing up, like when I started going to clubs, the crew that was out, which would be the equivalent of the hype house today, was Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire,
Paris Hilton,
Kevin Connolly, Paris Hilton,
Lindsay Lohan,
like a young Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, like that crew.
So legends.
Nicole Richie. Yeah. But that was who was at the It restaurant, the It nightclub, and they were the It. We talk about the hype house, how people used to talk about that crew,
and it was the Hills.
Yeah.
It was the cast of the Hills.
But did you ever knock what they were doing? Like, did you ever be like, oh, Leo's not a real actor?
Well, I'd say the Hills characters, the reality stars at that time was like Paris and Nicole Richie had just done A Simple Life. That was a joke at that time. Like reality TV hadn't really set into what it is today.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they became so famous. They were like literally the most famous people.
And you guys were like, how?
Remember that fame for the sake of fame used to be odd?
Yeah.
It used to be like Paris Hilton is famous for being famous. Now it's like all of Boa Steakhouse.
Even the employees there are just like making TikToks in the back. Totally.
I didn't know
Why is it Boa?
I didn't know Boa was the rite of passage.
They've done some sort of good job. It is.
Yeah.
It's not Mastros. It's not.
Is there somebody there? Is there a marketing guy there that taps into that world really well?
No, I mean it was kind of we just got introduced to Boa. Like when I moved here, like a couple of friends I met in LA were like, I got to take you to this restaurant. We'd go to Boa.
I've seen they have like a FaZe Clan menu. They have like the FaZe Clan kids are always there. The influencers are always there. That's the spot.
Well, I'll tell you why is because no knock on them, but they're a lot more of a mainstream restaurant in LA versus we know Delilah or Nice Guy wouldn't do anything for like that group of people. Like they'll take care of them, but they're not gonna like give them a menu. Or Craig's or Medeo's, which are like institutions or institutions in LA. I don't think they're going to roll out the red carpet for any talent, frankly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think but Boa found a niche, man, where if you're at Boa with your filet mignon, it's like, oh, I see you.
And they're documenting this on social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say I've had a couple phone calls with like the TikTok kid and stuff. They're always at Boa. They're always FaceTiming from fucking Boa. Like, yo, we're at Boa. What's going on? Is my package on the way?
We used to be big Boa goers.
I mean,
loved it.
John has had multiple birthdays at Boa.
You're that guy.
Dee had a standing res at Boa for a whole summer.
Yeah, I did have a standing.
He's like, yo, if you want to find me at 9 p.m., I'll be at Boa.
Tuesday nights
Monday
Boa
Night
was my
Football.
thing.
Yeah.
That was like 10 years ago.
So are you still influencing, or are you transitioned full to acting?
I've kind of just had to pick my battles now. It's like, where am I investing the majority of my time? Because I could, there's just at the end of last year, for about a year and a half, I was uploading 2 videos a day to YouTube every single day, like did not miss a day. And then on top of that, Instagram content, Facebook content, like it's putting out maybe like 50, 60, no more, sorry, like around 70 videos a month across platforms. So now I'm just like,
that's a burnout.
Right.
That's the problem with social media is you feel like you have to do that level of content, right? Or else you're irrelevant.
Right. I mean, and also people demand it. Yeah. Like I was uploading daily, and then my subscribers were like, post more. And I'm like, how? How much more do you want to watch?
But what if you didn't? I actually was not following Travis Scott till recently. He doesn't ever really post.
But they're different because they put out music.
He's like legendary.
It's fine.
When you're like a vlogger or a whatever, if you don't post every day, you see your followings, you stop getting served in the right algorithm. You stop being on trending.
Think about Travis Scott. I mean, is famous for putting out music.
Yeah.
Not famous for content. So
because think about how many people listen to his song every day, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They're not waiting on a vlog to see him.
Yeah.
So, but that's the way that the system works. Is if you don't, you're constantly outrunning like this falling thing, and you just fall into like you're just not growing anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Because somebody else is doing it. Someone over there in the hype house.
So the young version, like the 16-year-old version of you,
has
is
7
posting
videos
14 videos a day.
He's live streaming
literally.
his whole day.
Yeah. Some of these TikTok kids, I don't know how many times they post a day. Mind you, it doesn't take that much to, like I said, prop up a phone and dance. You can do that 30 times a day. So, for me, it's like on TikTok, I'm like, to upload like 3-4 times a week is stressful to even come up with ideas to be able to film. That would be good for TikTok.
Here's a question too. Like, do you think that this career choice, not acting, but influencing, is just something that is by nature short-lived and you only have so long? Like, is there anything other than like you fluke into your David Dobrik and you're, the biggest just printing money and the biggest celebrity that we have now?
Right.
It's just something that everyone should look at as a short, like, oh, I did my little stint as an influencer, and then quickly start thinking about what's next, or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like it's a solid medium, but it's not the means to an end. Like, I think it's a good platform to be able to catapult you into the things that you want to do if you're talented in those areas, right? Like, you shouldn't become an influencer and then decide, I want to be an actor now. If you're not actually passionate about it, that's just, I mean, you have to be passionate about the things you're doing. You have to love what you're doing for it to really, come to fruition. But yeah, it's definitely short-lived. Like how many people are making content daily now?
Yeah.
And and if you think about it, like back then, between anyone that had 10 million subscribers and 1 million, there was like far and few in between. Now it's like, how many people have 1 million? How many people have 500,000?
Yeah, every day I meet someone who has millions of followers. I've never heard of them.
Never heard of them.
And they can't make $1.
Yeah,
You know what I
literally.
mean? Like, there are so many people now with 1 million followers, and I'm not even making fun of them, but like, you can't sell a product.
Yeah.
You don't have a thing. And
I don't talk about it, but I help with merch for a lot of really famous people, and I'm shocked when I see how many people can't sell merch. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think that comes too from like just the experience. I've worked with pretty much like every Fortune 500 company. So now like my resume of work and like they pay attention. It's a very small industry in terms of like the advertising space. Like they know who's doing like,
and who converts.
Yeah. Who's doing like the real advertising on social media.
So do you have a crew that you were creating content with, or was it you're riding solo and you did your own thing?
Initially from Toronto, I was by myself completely. And that's kind of why I started coming to LA, because I was like, how many times I'm gonna have my mom hold a phone to, you know, get a shot of me doing something, you know? So when I started coming to LA, that's when I started like linking with everybody and we started hanging out and filming. And
who was your original crew in
1600
LA?
Vine,
That's
man. I wish there was a proper documentary about 1600 Vine.
Yeah.
yeah,
You live there, right?
yeah.
With King
yeah,
Batch?
my entire, like pretty much the first massive chunk of my stint in LA was 1600.
And think about that. In 2000, what is that, 14?
Right, yeah.
You had to live at 1600 Vine. Now you get to live in a fucking mansion.
Way better.
That's the new model.
Well, because
Sway
people
house,
are
hype house,
dumping
this house.
money. I don't know who's dumping money into those kids, but
Yeah.
like,
We've got questions too.
yeah, you know?
Are the kids even making any money, or is there some manager that's just robbing them blind?
I think the only, dude, that's the biggest. Are you familiar with Jaden Hostler?
No.
He's one of the TikTok boys. I met pretty much all of them early on before they really started getting the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaden, I really believed in. He's got an amazing voice. Like when I met him, because I was just kind of curious, picking their brains. Like, what do you guys like?
Yeah.
Like, do you have passions? Like, is there something you love that you want to do?
They were like, "What's that mean?"
Yeah.
I'm a savage.
Yeah, let me tell you.
I am nothing.
I'm bougie, I'm ratchet.
Yeah. But Jaden, like, he's like, I would love to make music. Like and he had a crazy voice. I was like, dude, let's get you in the studio.
Yeah.
So I wrote and like helped produce his first big track, and it's got like 40 million plays now.
Oh my God.
So
Wow.
like, I was really keen on just like, all right, out of this big group of people, who is the Shawn Mendes? Who is like, you know?
You could be like a life coach for influencers. You could
Yeah.
be like, listen,
That'd be a whole new
you little
business.
fuckers, I know you got this stuff going, but let's find what's your passion. Let's figure
Right.
that out.
Yeah.
Right.
You could start a business there.
I also think he could like start the management company. It's like, you know, when I always didn't understand what like sports agents.
Mm-hmm.
Why not, you know, if I was a player that, you know, did really well and I still wanted to be attached to the sport, if I became the agent, most players I'd rather go to the player that was an agent because you know every dumb shit I'm about to do.
Right.
I'd rather go get, you know, Emmett Smith to be my agent because I know Emmett Smith went through everything. So it's like, when I think about like, obviously you're interested in acting, so you're going to pursue that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's such a huge opportunity because there are thousands of kids entering BOA every single week that are looking to be you.
Yeah.
Entering
Like,
BOA.
Yeah, I mean, you should
yeah,
open your office in that
You
building.
should.
What is
There's
it,
a private
9,000
room in the
Sunset?
back of, 9,000.
Yeah, and just open office and say, hey, once you're finished with BOA, come
Yeah.
upstairs. Let me tell you what's going on.
Bring me a filet and we'll sit down and talk.
Yeah.
That's the hazing.
What was I gonna say? I think like for me, it's just more of I feel for them. You know, I feel for the younger kids that are on social media coming up. So like, it's been less about. I honestly had never even thought once about formulating a business around it. It was kind of just like I have a lot of resources now because I've built so many relationships. So I've just been like, if you need help, let me know, and I got you. Like Jaden, I never put that kid in a contract.
Yeah.
I didn't charge him for production, nothing. We literally built him music for free just because I wanted to see him do something
That's
with
the
his
Canadian
talent.
in you.
Right, and I knew you were gonna, I had a feeling you were gonna be like,
That's what it is.
Yeah, Canadians would do.
That's
know,
why
shit 'cause
Americans are
they're-
not doing that.
Yeah,
You got a
America-
contract.
Yeah, contract, your lawsuit, the
You
whole
should,
thing.
you should start a house that's like the halfway house, you
Right.
know, and like when you're done at the hype house and you're looking for purpose in your life, you come to your house.
Right.
That's a
You
bad
know,
name.
it's in the
Halfway house
valley.
is not a good
Call it-
name.
Maybe
Call
I'll
it
call it
Canada.
that. Yeah.
It's similar to like AA. Put the phone down for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Let's,
Talk about
let's have
purpose.
conversations.
Yes, you come out of here with a career.
Here's
Yeah.
a book.
because do you think they have any of that?
Sit down. What?
Do you think they have any of that balance in their lives right now? I mean,
No
it's just
way.
kind of like BOA
too
day, BOA
fast.
TikTok, BOA TikTok.
Boa TikTok check. Boa TikTok check. And I think a lot of their parents are like, well, fuck it. I don't understand it.
They're like, you know what? I like Boa too.
Yeah.
I like Boa.
They're-
I
the
see a lot
parents
of
are-
parents are there too.
The parents are eating that tableside Caesar every night. Just,
Yeah. That's a beautiful Caesar. It's
beautiful.
The
So
parents are just like, let me have one of those.
Throw in
Right.
some cheese fries.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What is because I feel like we love to bash things.
I have a question.
Go.
I would love to bash things.
So I have a question. Since you're in the TikTok game and you're friends with a lot of these big creators, do TikTok creators understand the national security threat that TikTok has on America?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Why would they?
No shit.
Why would they?
It's not a
Our
blip on the
friends
radar.
don't
It's not a
understand it.
blip on the radar.
No.
Not even close.
They're just like,
You
am
can
I
teach
hitting
that
the
at
For
the
You
house.
page?
I'm just saying they're I'm just saying like they're it. They're the platform, right? These
Yeah.
people, like you're telling me they don't ever see a headline, TikTok is a national security threat. Like why?
They don't see headlines. They see captions.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, if you ask the average 40-year-old, I guarantee you.
I didn't ask the average 40-year-old.
But
I'm
I'm
asking
just
the
saying,
biggest creators on
they'd be
TikTok.
like, oh, a bunch of kids dancing is a national security threat. Oh, no, but 100 million phones tracking 100 million Americans is a national security threat.
And that, to Anand's point, that's your average 40-year-old.
Yeah,
Now
so
you
why
take
would
your
it-
average 19-year-old that's making $50K a month, shaking around and sad.
Don't
You
be
think they
like,
give a shit?
Take my data.
Shaking
What do I
national
care?
No,
security.
that's fine if they're okay with that. I'm just
They don't
curious, are they
know.
aware at all?
I mean, if they're the highlight of their day is eating tableside Caesar at Boa, do you think they're worried about what
think-
President
Yeah,
Xi
they
in
don't
China
care.
is?
I think a lot of people think this is Trump hating.
Yeah.
Like that's how they read it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, Trump, man. Fuck
Yeah.
He's trying to take away our
yeah.
Fun.
our
Yeah.
For You page.
Yeah.
Yeah. How dare you? No,
Yeah.
This is where I draw the line. I'm telling you, that might get young people to vote. If I was Biden, I would. Who cares about the truth? I'd be like,
Bring
Trump's
back
trying to
TikTok.
take away TikTok.
I'm here to keep TikTok.
Everybody at the rallies. Totally. You have
Imagine the
lines. You have 19-year-old
Joe
lines.
Biden needs to roll up in Boa.
Oh my god.
Could you imagine?
With like the D'Amelio family roll up. You might win just on that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even care about him if you pulled up. They'd be like, "Who is that?"
For real. They'd be like, Grandpa, do you what?
Grandpa D'Amelio.
Yeah.
Great grandpa. He's too old to be a grandpa. Okay, my question was going to be like, what is you've been through it, you've seen it very closely. What's the positive? Like, is there anything to take away from a positive angle? Is there anybody use this positive? If you're talking to even an 18-year-old kid and they're like, I want to start a TikTok, like, what's the positive side of all this?
I think it's just being privileged.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like think about how privileged these kids are to be able to do what they're doing and earn the money that they're making, right? Like just finding the gratitude in that. And then by finding the gratitude, how do you use that to do good things
Yep.
in life, you know, for people, for things, whatever it is. Like you just have to kind of transition into thinking positively. I think that's what it is. It's like these kids are just like money, this, fame, da 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 da, and not understanding that like they're very privileged and not a lot, like not letting the ego get to them, for example, because immediately like the second you start getting followers and I'm a, you know, a culprit of it too. Like I went through that stint where I was just like,
You were
I'm
a
on
dick.
top, you
You
know,
were a
like
dick.
Yeah.
I was, you know what? I wasn't so much a dick. It was just in my own head.
Yeah.
I
So
would
you
just tell
tell
myself
famous.
like,
So you're walking in a
I'm
Boa
that
like
guy.
you're
you
walking
know?
in a Boa the same way.
Oh, you filet mignon.
Yeah. Caesar salad for all you little bitches.
What is that? Jerry
the presents
Bruckheimer?
here.
I'll pay for your fucking Caesar salad.
Nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
How many followers you got, Jerry?
Yeah. Are you on Vine or what?
Yeah, what is that? Transformers? Who saw that one?
Yeah.
Boring.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
you know,
I have I want to get your perspective advice. I have a 3-year-old and a recently newborn.
congratulations.
Thank you. My kid is going to get a phone sometime in
in the next 2 months.
Yeah, hopefully not.
The kid has a TikTok already. He has 50,000 followers. He's asking how to get more.
Yeah.
The iPad.
If you had a child today that was 12 years old, let's just hypothetical, how would you handle social media for your kids given what you know about social media today?
I feel like I would just try and parent them as best as possible, you know?
Would
Knowing
you
what I
not
know.
give them access to it? Would you stray them away from it? Like, because some parents just like, here's a phone. You're
Right.
7 years old. Good luck with your life. Like,
I think like not giving them access to it is probably the worst thing you could do. And just going from even me growing up, like, you know, I'm Italian. My family was very aggressive. Until I left the country and moved, I had a curfew of like 11:30.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't come home at like before midnight, I was getting calls from my dad. Where the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Get home now.
Yeah.
You know, and that made me sneak out and go do more things. I think like for my child having social media, I would let them, you know, navigate it as they will, but also like give them insight and talk to them about like why certain things are good and why this is bad and like why you shouldn't praise this and, you know, like
Yeah.
I just think that there's no guidance right now and a lot of these kids are just kind of free roam
because
and they don't
parents
know
are
what's
lost. Frankly, parents are lost.
Well, I think the way to think about it is the genie's out of the bottle. It's not going back in. If you don't teach them to learn to live with it, they're gonna get access to it, and then they're gonna live with it the wrong way.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the tough part, right? Because that historically never works. Like trying to shelter.
No. Everyone figures it out, whether it's 12, 14, 18.
but
doesn't
you
matter.
see the impact it has on specifically like I would say teenage girls.
Yeah.
Really, that shit worries me when
It breaks my heart for real when I see that shit, because I'm like, they don't understand, like, they don't have that moral compass where they're like, you know, for me and for my sanity and for my well-being, I'm going to not do that because that will make people like look at me. You know, for example, like just the sexuality of it all. I think it's like like some of these kids, 15 years old, like, because at least back then, like when I say back then, like I'm like fucking 100 years old. Yeah. But when I was younger and their age, no one was really filming and putting things on the internet of them. Because like I think there's nothing wrong with being a sexual human being, right? Like it's more accepted today than it's ever been. Yeah. But I think like, you know, projecting that and like
sexualizing everything,
and you know, and these things are getting 1 million likes.
I mean, now when you see the numbers that some of these like people that we've never heard of are making on OnlyFans by pulling their tits out, you got 19-year-olds that are like, all right, this is my career path.
What's even worse is TikTok. It's 16-year-old girls doing it.
Yeah, and then you graduate to OnlyFans. You got to wait till your 18th birthday to start that account.
But it's a vicious cycle of like the media kind of like you're watching from the sidelines of like, oh, these social media guys make this money and they do this and that and they have fame. And then they're like, okay, well, I can have fame and I can make money and do this and that. And then now there's more avenues to getting there. Yeah. And now that the avenues that, you know, wouldn't necessarily be looked at as normal back then, right? Like charging people to watch you be nude or like selling nudes or whatever it is, like, is like, is it accepted now? I don't want to say it's accepted now because I don't know if it is, but
I would say having an OnlyFans is like pretty fucking accepted.
I think so.
Compared to like what nudes leaking of somebody would have meant like a year ago,
right?
It's already like, oh yeah, she has an OnlyFans.
Blah, blah, blah. Well, we've seen everything.
It's just part of the resume.
And to each their own. Like if that's your choice in life, like who am I to sit here and tell you what you can and cannot do? But I just think for the mental health of the youth and people coming up and growing in this day and age, it's fucking traumatizing. To have to think about that. Like, oh, I'll just get naked and I can make $100,000. But then they don't understand the real value of $100,000.
Yeah.
You know, because people grind to make $100,000 creating businesses or whatever it is that they do.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, $100,000 wired to the bank account. You're like, fuck it, I'm just do this.
Yeah.
What's just a last question for me.
Yeah.
What's the hottest trend on TikTok that I should be, dancing to, song,
The worst person to ask. The worst person to ask.
Give me a song,
Dude, there's the WAP challenge. I'm sure you guys have seen that.
Yeah,
that's where you do that dance.
We're like, it's a very provocative dance.
I saw like one of the girls I think it was Addison Rae's mom did it.
Okay, wow.
So when we're talking about,
Addison Rae's mom did it?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And she got really into it.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
How old's the mom? Like 39?
Yeah, I mean,
luckily the mom is 27.
And the dad's just watching it get tens of millions of views from the sidelines. Like,
we're going to Boa tonight. Steaks on me tonight.
We'll get the table side, Caesar.
Yeah. I feel like they come and go so quick, these challenges.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anand, anything else?
Last question is, of the people that were popping 7 years ago, what percent are completely irrelevant versus what have either stayed relevant or transitioned to something that keep them relevant?
Out of like the people that I know, or just
from your
generation,
your era,
I would say maybe like 10-15%.
Are still
relevant, still earning great money and just doing things.
And the rest are waiters at Boa now?
I don't know. I'm gonna go to Boa and just see all.
And keep in mind, he's from the generation of Logan Paul, David Dobrik.
Yeah.
Amanda Cerny. I feel like all the big...
Do you know who's lasted? Daystorm. Are you friends with him?
Yeah, Daystorm's great.
I think older than me.
I don't know how long he's been on social media for. It's like decades.
Yeah.
For real. Like he's been on it.
He was popping in chat rooms back on AOL.
He was on Prodigy chat rooms.
Dude, that man has been consistent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Work ethic.
All right. Well, listen, man, thank you for the insight.
Right. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations for making it out sane.
Yeah.
You just see
me in the corner just
rocking. It's just not. I mean, a lot of these kids, we talk to a lot of these young people, they don't know how to have a conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're used to just DMing and when you actually get in and have a chat, it gets real awkward. So
we've had some funny meetings with really famous young people where they just can't even
They were dancing the whole time.
Just moving around and savage. And And like, I think he likes it. Yeah. He's dancing. I think he likes the idea.
Wait, so do you like blue?
Yeah, exactly. All right, that'll work.
And so dance translator, I'm done. He's okay. He likes it.
Yeah, man, you made it out, and you said you were shooting a movie with Nicolas Cage.
Right, yeah, prior to COVID.
So insane. So
Yeah.
you made it on the right side.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is that your next big project that's coming out?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah,
When's that come out? Is that like halted because of everything going on?
right, yeah.
So next year, maybe?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a theatrical release, but I don't know where they're at. I don't know if they're still trying to release it because they wanted to have it out by October, but like I don't know where they're at with it right now.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you made it. Thank you, man.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
This is
Awesome.
awesome.